No one seems to be talking about this, but we are primed to be going into the biggest market cycle any of us have ever seen on Sorare. For the last 3 years, the majority of the market cycles are rooted in real-world football events. You know, guys that are crushing the matrix and scoring huge points, teams that are off-season and not playing football anymore, guys that are injured, all that kind of stuff. And then how big those cycles are and how much profit people can make or how badly you can get burned is propped up by the platform and the product. Now, over the last 3 years, the platform has been the main factor out of both of them. We've had huge increases in numbers of users, as well as phenomenal market figures going through the primary and the secondary market. But over the last 6 weeks, we have had, unlike any other time before, significant product developments on Sorare. Like the Global Cup has been a resounding success. Top 5 places get 5-a-side football, all expenses paid trip to Marseille with Zinedine Zidane. There's also a Messi special event, and this is what really put the light bulb on for me. In the Messi special event, if you're going to buy the unique anyway, a couple of limiteds that are rare, you're going to get tickets to Ligue 1 matches, you're going to get signed shirts and that kind of thing. And the product development for the reward pool, that's the intangible stuff we've all been waiting for. On top of that, they've made huge quality of life improvements as well. We can leave cards listed on the market for much longer. We can actually do counter offers between each other now. And then some of the innovations that they've made with the global cards, having collections, having albums, having folders. Of course, we've had squads for a while. At no point over the last 3 years since I've been playing the game is the product made such a huge leap ahead of where the platform's at. So I feel that over the next 3 or 4 months, we're going to see a real catch up in that respect. Now, if you're feeling underprepared for this market cycle, I've got you covered with the 4 card profiles that are going to be the hottest property on the Sorare secondary market over the next 3 or 4 months. The thing I love about doing this kind of content the most is always the comment section. As we're going through these different profiles, if you get a wee bell ringing off in your head and you think, I know a guy just like that, then drop it in the comment section of the video. What I would love to do is come back to this in a couple of days, and if the comment section is piled up full of fantastic recommendations, is I'd love to do a giveaway throughout December featuring those cards. If you think that's a good idea, then let me know by hitting the like button on the video. And yeah, guys, let's get stuck into it. As is tradition on the 23,001 channel, we are going to start with all that good stuff. Now, this profile is almost near extinction. It is so hard to find a quality under 23 midfielder. Now, as we know with the scoring matrix, for midfielders, having defensive and attacking output is absolute apex. A great example of uncovered guy really showing to prominence this season has been Enzo Laffi. If we look at his 1 month price graph on Ethereum, never mind on Fiat or anything like that, it is astounding. This guy is really, you know, he was one of these guys that a lot of people speculated was going to be the real deal. And over the last little while, like you can see with these scores here, hitting hundreds, hitting over 90s and 80s on the regular, he's starting to show he's got defensive and offensive capabilities. And his price here is circa £900, £800 or so for the rare. For a limited, about £75. So looking at finding these guys, under 23 midfielders in particular, when they are cheap, you know, they're going for like 30 quid or whatever, and then when they do pop off, they're going for about 3-4x. They are a fantastic profile to get into. Now, why are they so elusive? Because with under 23s, as you know, a lot of guys age out, but on top of that, quality under 23 midfielders transfer quite a lot these days because it's quite a hot property in the real world of football. Another fantastic example of a guy that's risen to prominence this year would be Cravadonna himself. And as you can see in the limited market, his prices absolutely went balubas over the last 6 months. He's really shot to fame, and he has really best case scenario. As you can see now, his rare goes for over £2,000 and the limited goes for over 250. In his SO5 scores, he's getting called Cravadonna for a reason. They've been exceptional for Napoli and Serie A. And this guy's price did take a backward step on the Napoli move because he was leaving Russia. And again, a lot of people speculate moving from Russia to Italy should be harder. You should perform not as well. But this guy's the opposite. When you're looking for under 23 wonder kid type guys, you're banking on the ones that can make it. You're trying to pick the ones that move into a situation that favours them, that favours the winger, that favours the box-to-box midfielder, whatever it might be. And the one I've got in my club is Felix Nemeka, which regular viewers will know. He's not really blown off yet, you know, but since I picked him up, he's starting to get into the team. He's starting to get goals and assists and whatever. And I'm really hopeful for him. The second half of the season could be quite good. Felix Nemeka at the moment goes for about £180. I picked mine up about a month or two ago. I picked mine up in September for £70. Haven't identified this under 23 midfielder extinction crisis that we're going through. Now, if I was looking for an under 23 midfielder for one of you guys out there, now I like to bank on the transfer paying off. Now, this guy's transfer is not known as of yet. He's highly speculated to be going to Europe in the next window from MLS. I'm talking, of course, about potential World Cup hero for match day 3, Ishmael Koney. Now, this guy's been very much under the radar at Montreal and in the Canadian national team to the wider football public. But this guy has got underlying stats like you wouldn't believe it. And his very short career is very promising already. Significant minutes in the World Cup for Canada. And fair enough, he's not taken the world stage by storm yet. But if this guy moves to Belgium, if he moves to the bottom end of France, or he moves to Serie B or something like that, then this guy could be an apex under 23 midfielder. Now, part of the jeopardy that we've had with some of these market cycles over the last 3 years is the dreaded Red X. If they move to a second division team like Bundesliga 2 or something like that, Serie B, or even some of these Scandinavian divisions, you know, a lot of them weren't accessible on Sorare until recently. So with the new leagues that we've got, the new licenses, everything that's came on as well over the last 3 or 4 months, the jeopardy on a negative transfer is really limited to Greece and the Middle East now. They're the only places we don't want to see players moving to. And Ishmael Koney has got such a fantastic profile and an amazing attributes for a young and up-and-coming midfielder that I do sincerely hope he follows in the footsteps of somebody like Tajon Buchanan or a Mark McKenzie and moves to Belgium. Maybe like, he could even be, by the way, this guy would be a great shout for a team like Salzburg or something like that. And if he went to Salzburg, he would be an absolute ripper. At the moment, he is £163, so he's not super cheap, but he is a playing under 23 mid, and he does have a wee bit of that transfer jeopardy over him. Again, like I said in the tip-off to the video, if you've got a better under 23 mid that's bubbling under the surface, waiting for a transfer, starting to get minutes, whatever, drop them in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit the subscribe button by now already. Rare goalkeepers, as we know, is a huge part of the secondary market on Sorare. Almost everyone indulges in buying backup goalkeepers for training purposes, and then maybe one day they come good. Probably the poster child of the most unexpected supposed backup keeper to come good is none other than Vasilius Barkas. Now, backup at Celtic, went on loan to Utrecht, who had at least one, maybe even two guys that should have been ahead of Barkas. But again, like you can see, a guy that goes from being a backup to being a number one, the price rise is significant, it's stellar, and it's been very much proven over the course. Now, in terms of other great examples, there's a few around Europe, okay, but for ones that I would want you guys to maybe look into a bit more, the number one situation for me right now is at Feyenoord. So at the moment, Feyenoord have got Justin Bijlo, who might have been on to be the Dutch number one in the World Cup. He wasn't. They've got a rookie coming through their ranks in Devin Remy, but then they've also got Ofer Marciano, who's an Israel number one, former Hibs number one, former Feyenoord number one for a short spell, and Timo Wellenreuther, former number one of Heerenveen and Anderlecht and a couple of German teams. So this team has three credible number one options and an up-and-coming wonder kid type guy coming through. So between these four guys, there's definitely backup options to be had. Maybe Wellenreuther's going to leave, maybe Marciano leaves, maybe Devin Remy goes and gets the loan. This is a situation. If I was looking for a backup keeper, I would be investigating much, much closer. Another one that's in a quite easy situation similar to that is Zander Clark. Was number one at St Johnstone, moves to Hearts, and a lot of people think maybe he's going to have the torch passed to him from Craig Gordon, who's now 40 or something. But no, Zander Clark's barely featured all season. Maybe he spits the dummy and he moves in January. Maybe he does overcome Craig Gordon and become number one for next year. His price at the moment is quite punchy on the secondary, listed at floor price £400. But as you can see, the last couple of trades that have been negotiated are half that, if not less. So again, if you're willing to take a punt on Zander Clark becoming number one, then you could go for it. The kind of guys I've got in my gallery, I went for a young guy on the Barcelona bench. He's widely seen as the Spain youth international goalkeeper, Arnau Tenas. Maybe he gets a loan, maybe even to La Liga 2 in January. That would be nice for me. I think he did the same thing last year, in fact. Matthias Liss was another guy I bought as a backup when he was at Southampton and then got loaned out to Troyes to be the backup keeper. And I think he's maybe starting to play the now a little bit, but he's not nailed in at number one. But it is looking like he is going to get more and more minutes. His price isn't that great for somebody of this profile, but again, this is the guy I've picked up, and I'm now slowly starting to see some utility, and I'm slowly now starting to get a gauge on where he stands in that team. And then the third one I got was Fabian De Kaiser, who, funnily enough, is sitting on the bench thanks to Vasilius Barkas. So I'm really hoping for De Kaiser to either be motivated enough to get a move or get a loan or something, or Barkas to move on from Utrecht, or for them to decide we're not going to play the lone guy anymore. We'll play our young, up-and-coming Dutch under-21 international keeper. So they're the ones I've got locked in the background, hoping that they pay off. Now, Champion Europe is one of these regions that gets way slept on in terms of market trading by so many, because the floor, the entry point, even for the trading opportunities, is much higher than what it is in Asia, in Asia, Challenger Europe, or even in the Americas. So a lot of traders will kind of stay away from the floor pieces, you know, the ones that are really cheap in Champion Europe. But like we seen last year with the poster child for this segment, Gianluca Caprari, if you've got a Champion Euro rare forward, rare in particular, but any scarcity this applies to, and they can score goals and they can hit big scores, then it doesn't matter if they're a household name, they will be worth a significant amount of money. His scores last year were absolutely incredible at Verona, and it saw his price reach amazing levels. He's went to Monza and it's not quite replicated. This year he's much, much cheaper now. This year, but the Gianluca Caprari has been Dango Otara, if that's how you say it. The Burkina Faso forward at the moment. He's also under 23, which is a real jackpot for these situations. But he has been kicking ass and taking names at Lorient. Look at those scores. And for a Champ Euro forward, this guy's playing wide quite a lot. These scores are significant. And it doesn't matter that he plays for Lorient. These scores are up there with the biggest and best players in European football. And if a guy like this can continue that through the season, or even if you found a guy like this before he hits these scores, getting that utility for 5 or 6 weeks is so rare, life-changing. It really is. An easy one that I think is underpriced at the moment that would come into that mould is Andre Silva. Now, Leipzig are on the ascendancy. They're only going to get better as the season goes on, and they've qualified for the next round of European football. They're going to be in the knockout round of the Champions League. So Andre Silva will feature more and more as the season goes on. He's very good for getting double digits goals and assists. And as you can see with the form that he started to leave off the back end of this season, I would expect a return to form like we've seen him in his heyday, where he's rattling out goals and decisives every single game week. And for the price that Andre Silva is climbing at the moment, £250 or so for the rare, but £20 for the limited, I think he's got it all to really kick on in the second half of the season with the matches that Leipzig will have domestically and on the European front as well. Another one that comes into that mould, a bit cheaper as well because he's a little bit older, and that is Andre Kramaric. He's one of my favourite Champion Euro forwards, and his scores, you know, they're a wee bit up and down for this season, but overall the guy, he can do everything. He can really do everything, and there's a bit too much 30 to 40 range for him, unfortunately, over the last 6 months or so, but he still has those 60 plus capabilities for club and country. Hoffenheim will probably finish top 4 in my opinion this year, and Kramaric will be the main striker involved in that. He plays wide, he plays deep, he gets set pieces, he takes penalties, he does it all. And for a nailed-on Champion Euro forward, the price that he's at now I think is pretty good. The one I've got in my gallery is actually a super rare in this kind of mould, and it's Lucas Nemeka. Again, he should be on to be the main forward at Wolfsburg, and Wolfsburg have just been kind of naff, but he's the main target man forward, and when he does score, he's breaking 70s, which for a target man forward, you want them to have some AA build-up so that when they do get the decisive action, they don't just finish with 63, but they end up getting an 82 or something like that, you know. Now, I think it's very understated how much managers really enjoy winning top European cards with guys from America and Asia. And for the limited market, scarcity specific here, for the limited market, the apex players, and I'm just going to cycle through a bunch of them for you, the apex players in Champion America and Champion Asia are always highly valuable to have in your club to play in all-star competitions, in under-23s and in specialists to win the biggest and best names in European football and in world football. And for me, the now Ryan Gauld for Unlimited at £45 is absolutely incredible. He's really come into his own at Vancouver, and like you can see, guys that really kick off in MLS at a big team like Ryan Gauld, they can score hundreds, they can get past 80s, no problem at all. The under-23 equivalent of Ryan Gauld for me is Ricky Puig, the Barcelona La Masia graduate who now finds himself at LA Galaxy. His limited is just under £100. And with him having the caveat of being under 23 as well, when he gets these scores running again next season, which he will, for me, I don't think there's any doubt about that, then he will be one of the most important under 23 limited midfielders. And, the rare's just a bit too punchy for me to have featured them in one of the other sections. But for limited, I think that's an amazing price. And I would definitely be looking at him if you don't have somebody of this ilk already. In terms of forwards outside of European football, I think Sebastian Druise is a home run. He's the MVP at Austin. He's loved there. He's really settled in. And his scores ever since been in MLS, moving from Zenit, has been, wow, wild, right? At the moment, his limited is under 150 quid, which compared to Carlos Gil, who's seen as the biggest high-scoring player in Champion America, it's not quite half, but it's not too far away from it. And he's a forward, and some of these forwards to score this high, they're even rarer to find. In terms of power defenders outside of Europe, I think Alexander Schultz presents fantastic value. He's just under £60 at the moment. The Urawa Reds, I want to say he's a Denmark defender, just transferred in from, I want to say, Midtjylland or some team like that in Denmark. And look at these scores, man. This guy's been an absolute killer. One of the best defenders in the game when he's been playing. He takes set pieces. He's a goal-scoring defender. He does it all. And for under 60 quid, I think he would be an absolute great pickup at limited level for when the Japanese season comes back. I'm putting this guy in for sentimental reasons, but Mickey Yaman for limited, under 30 quid, I think is great. His scores are super reliable. He does have peaks in them. He's maybe not quite as hard hitting as Schultz is, but again, for half the price, I think Mickey Yaman is fantastic. Sin Jin Ho is a name that I hear all the time from the Sorare managers that love their Asian football. And this guy is just over £65 at Pohang Steelers in the K-League. And when you look at these scores, man, this guy can kill. This guy can destroy. And if you're going to be playing him in All-Star or you're going to be playing Specialist, these kind of things, this is a guy that can really do the scores of a high-end European guy on the price of a Champion Asia card. And the poster child of what I just said, of course, is Kashinya. His limited is 120 quid, which I know it's another year gone by and it's another year where will Cecilia be Cecilia, right? But look at these scores in the K-League, man. He is irresistible. Over 15 times he's scored over 90 points. Over 14 times he's did over 80. He's absolutely incredible. And for 120 quid for a limited like this that can bang with the biggest and best of them in world football, in All-Star, in Specialist, or in Champion Asia, if that's what you're into. I think that's a great pickup at the moment. A lot of the prices that we featured in this video today, when we look back at it in January and February, are going to be totally different. Some of them might be a little bit lower, and I'm sure that'll be based on real-world football events, but some of them will be much better off, and that'll be because of the product development that we've had over the last 6 weeks, the rest of the market now catching up to it. These profiles, the reason they are going to be hot properties, because like I said at the tip-off of the video, they're hard to find really good ones, and then when you find really good ones, you need them to pay off, and sometimes it takes ages for them to pay off, and sometimes they pay off quite quickly. So that's the kind of the plates we're spinning. Coming into, like I said, the biggest Sorare market cycle we've ever had. I feel pretty well prepared for it. How do you feel?